Welcome to Black Screen Bright Ideas. I'm Paul Pena.
And I'm Caitlin Otta.
Today, we're exploring Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You know, that digital currency everyone's been talking about. We'll unpack what it is, why some people believe it matters, and what its future could hold. We'll even touch on some common concerns like security and how governments are approaching it.
It can seem complicated at first, but breaking it down can offer a fresh perspective on how we think about money and finance.
Exactly. And it all starts with a fundamental question. What is money, really?
At its core, money is like socioeconomic energy.
Right.
It's what we use to trade goods, services, and even property. Think of it as the fuel that keeps the engine of our economy running.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. And like any energy source, money has gone through quite an evolution, hasn't it? We've seen everything from seashells to gold being used as currency. Then came paper money, and now we have these digital currencies like Bitcoin.
It's fascinating to see how money has adapted to our changing needs and technologies. But the fundamental purpose remains the same: to keep track of who owns what in an economy. It's essentially a system of accounting for value.
Makes sense. But as we know, traditional monetary systems haven't always been perfect.
Yeah.
One persistent problem is inflation right now.
That's right. Inflation happens when a governing authority prints more currency, essentially diluting the existing supply and causing the currency to lose its value. Think of it like adding water to juice. You have more liquid, but each sip is weaker.
So it's like slowly chipping away at the value of our money over time. Michael Saylor, a well-known Bitcoin advocate, has a pretty powerful analogy for this. He compares inflation to regularly bleeding a person. You weaken the system by gradually draining its lifeblood.
It's a stark image,
No.
but it drives home the point. And this is where Bitcoin enters the picture. It's often touted as a potential solution to this very problem of inflation.
So could Bitcoin actually be the answer?
Well, Bitcoin is unique because it was designed with inflation in mind. Unlike traditional currencies, Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning it's not controlled by any single entity like a government or central bank.
So if no one is in control, how does it actually work?
Picture Bitcoin as a digital ledger spread across a network of computers all over the world. No one person or institution can manipulate it. This makes it incredibly difficult to corrupt this system.
So it's kind of like a global digital vault.
Exactly. And this vault has a fixed supply of 21 million coins. This limited supply is crucial. It means Bitcoin can't be inflated in the way governments can inflate traditional currencies.
Okay, I get that there's a limited amount of Bitcoin, but what's stopping someone from hacking the system and creating more?
That's where the concept of proof of work comes in. It's a complex process, but essentially energy is used to secure the network. Think of it as a massive, decentralized puzzle that requires an immense amount of computational power to solve. This makes attacking the Bitcoin network incredibly expensive and technically challenging.
It sounds almost like a digital fortress protected by an energy shield.
That's a good way to put it. And because it's decentralized hacking, it would require taking control of a vast number of computers across the globe, which is practically impossible.
So to hack Bitcoin, you wouldn't just need to break into one system. You'd need to break into thousands, maybe even millions of systems simultaneously.
Precisely. Andreas Antonopoulos, a respected figure in the Bitcoin world, highlights this very point. He explains that Bitcoin security stems from its decentralized nature. Hacking millions of individuals who hold their own unique keys is a Herculean task, essentially making it near impossible.
That's a powerful argument for the security of the system. So we've established that Bitcoin is designed to resist inflation and is incredibly secure. But how does this translate to real-world value? Is Bitcoin just a digital curiosity, or is it something more?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Bitcoin proponents describe it as digital gold, digital property, and even digital energy.
Okay, let's break that down. Digital gold, I sort of get. Like gold, it's scarce and seen as a store of value.
Yeah.
But how is it superior to actual gold?
Well, for starters, Bitcoin is immune to the inflationary pressures that can affect gold. Gold mining can increase the supply of gold, potentially impacting its value. Bitcoin, however, has a fixed supply.
Plus, unlike gold, Bitcoin is easy to transfer and store. You don't need a vault or a safe deposit box. It's all digital.
That's right. Then there's this concept of Bitcoin as digital property. Unlike physical property, Bitcoin doesn't require maintenance or upkeep. You don't have to worry about it rusting, breaking, or getting damaged by the elements.
And it's nearly impossible to confiscate if you hold your own keys, right? Imagine trying to take someone's Bitcoin by force if it's securely stored in their digital wallet. It wouldn't be easy.
You've hit on another key point. Bitcoin offers a level of ownership security that's difficult to match with traditional assets.
And this idea of Bitcoin as concentrated digital energy,
hmm
that one's a bit more abstract. What does that even mean?
It all comes back to that proof of work concept we talked about earlier. The energy invested in securing the network is directly tied to Bitcoin's value. This makes it a durable and potentially appreciating asset, similar to how gold's value is inherently tied to the energy required to extract it.
So it's like the energy used to mine Bitcoin becomes embedded in the Bitcoin itself, making it inherently valuable.
That's a good way to think about it. Of course, with any emerging technology, there are concerns and questions.
Right. Some people worry about governments banning Bitcoin altogether. Others are concerned about hacking and security breaches. Those are legitimate concerns.
Absolutely. And we should address them head on. When it comes to government regulation, the situation is constantly evolving. The U.S. currently treats Bitcoin as property subject to capital gains taxes.
So if you profit from selling Bitcoin, you need to report those gains to the IRS, just like with any other property transaction.
Precisely. And we're seeing increasing regulation, particularly focused on exchanges to promote transparency and prevent illegal activities. This added layer of oversight can actually make the system feel safer for many people.
What about hacking? We often hear stories about Bitcoin exchanges being hacked, which can be worrisome for potential investors.
It's important to remember that Bitcoin itself has never been hacked. The hacks we hear about usually target centralized exchanges, those platforms where people store their Bitcoin with a third party. It's like leaving your valuables in a bank rather than keeping them in a safe at home.
So holding your own keys is like having your own personal vault for your Bitcoin, making it much safer from those types of attacks.
That's a key takeaway. Self-custody gives you greater control over your assets. Now let's shift gears and look ahead. What does the future hold for Bitcoin?
It's exciting to think about the possibilities. Some believe Bitcoin could disrupt traditional finance and offer greater economic freedom, especially for people who don't have easy access to banks.
That's certainly a possibility. Michael Saylor envisions a future where Bitcoin replaces gold as the primary store of value, influences real estate prices, and even changes how corporations manage their finances.
It's a bold vision for sure. And Andreas Antonopoulos predicts that future generations may never use physical money, becoming comfortable with digital currencies from a young age. It's almost hard to imagine, but I can see how it's possible.
It would definitely represent a significant paradigm shift in how we view and interact with money. Now let's pause for a moment and reflect.
What stands out to you about Bitcoin so far? Is it just a new form of gold, or is there something more to it?
It's definitely more nuanced than just a digital version of gold. The fact that it operates independently of any central authority is a radical concept. It challenges how we've traditionally thought about money and financial systems.
You mentioned earlier that some believe Bitcoin could empower those who are currently excluded from traditional banking systems. Could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Imagine a world where you don't need a bank account to participate in the global economy. Bitcoin has the potential to provide financial services to anyone with an internet connection. This could be revolutionary for people in developing countries or regions with limited access to traditional banking.
That's a powerful idea, financial inclusion on a global scale. But for many people, Bitcoin is still this abstract technical thing. How would you explain it to someone who's completely new to the concept?
I tell them to think of Bitcoin as a digital form of money that you can use to buy things online and increasingly in the real world. It's like sending an email, but with value attached to it. And because it's decentralized, there's no bank or government controlling it.
So it's like sending a digital envelope filled with value directly to another person without needing a middleman.
Precisely. And those keys we talked about earlier, think of them as your unique digital signature. They prove that you own the Bitcoin you're sending or receiving. No one can access your Bitcoin without your keys.
That makes sense. So if someone loses their keys, they essentially lose their Bitcoin.
Unfortunately, yes. It's like losing the combination to a safe. That's why securely storing your keys is absolutely crucial.
It seems like this emphasis on personal responsibility is a big part of the Bitcoin philosophy.
It is. It's about individual empowerment and control over your own finances. But with this freedom comes responsibility. You're in charge of your own security.
It's a double-edged sword, then. The potential for both greater freedom and greater risk.
Exactly. It's a new frontier, and like any frontier, it comes with both opportunities and challenges. But for many, the potential rewards outweigh the risks.
It's definitely a fascinating concept that pushes the boundaries of what we traditionally consider money.
And even if you don't invest in Bitcoin yourself, understanding it provides valuable insight into the evolving landscape of finance and technology. It's a glimpse into a potential future where digital currencies play a much larger role in our lives.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface here. What are some of the other potential implications of Bitcoin that people are discussing?
Some experts believe that Bitcoin could impact real estate in a big way. Imagine a world where you can easily buy and sell property across borders using Bitcoin. This could streamline transactions and open up new investment opportunities.
That would be a game changer for the real estate industry.
Others believe that Bitcoin could even challenge the US dollar's dominance as the world's reserve currency. This is a controversial topic, but it highlights the potential for Bitcoin to disrupt the global financial order as we know it.
It's certainly a thought-provoking concept.
Mhm.
It seems like Bitcoin is more than just a digital currency. It's a catalyst for a broader conversation about the nature of money, power, and technology in the 21st century.
You've hit the nail on the head. Whether you're a diehard supporter or a skeptical observer, there's no denying that Bitcoin has sparked a debate that's reshaping how we think about the future of finance.
So even if someone isn't interested in investing in Bitcoin, it's still valuable to understand what it is and the potential impact it could have on the world.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, and in a world that's rapidly changing, understanding emerging technologies like Bitcoin can help you navigate the future with greater clarity and confidence.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. Before we wrap up, I'd like to hear your final thoughts on Bitcoin. What's the
Uh,
key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say the most important thing to remember is that Bitcoin represents a fundamental shift in how we think about money. It's a decentralized digital currency that operates independently of any central authority. Whether it succeeds or fails in the long run remains to be seen, but its emergence has undoubtedly opened up new possibilities and challenges that will continue to shape the future of finance.
I couldn't agree more. It's a topic that sparks curiosity, debate, and a healthy dose of wonder about what the future holds. This exploration of Bitcoin has definitely given me a lot to think about. It really makes you think about the future of money, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's such a thought-provoking topic.
It really is. We've covered so much ground, from what money even is to how Bitcoin might completely change global finance. It's obvious that Bitcoin is more than just some new technology. It feels like a cultural shift, too. It's really challenging how things are.
It really is. And even if you aren't interested in actually buying Bitcoin, I think it's important to at least try to understand it. The world's changing so fast. It's good to keep up.
So for our listeners who might be feeling overwhelmed, there's a lot to take in. What's the one thing you want them to remember about Bitcoin?
I think the main thing to remember is that Bitcoin's still so new. It's constantly evolving. It's kind of like an experiment, and we don't know what's going to happen. But even if Bitcoin doesn't become like the main currency, the ideas behind it, like decentralization, transparency, and individual empowerment, I think those are here to stay. I think they're going to change how we think about money for a long time.
That's a great point. It's not just Bitcoin itself. It's a whole movement towards a more decentralized financial system. Who knows what will happen next?
Exactly. It's an exciting time. And, you don't have to invest to be a part of it. Just thinking about it is enough. You might even get inspired to do more. Who knows?
We hope this conversation has given you some bright ideas about Bitcoin and the future of finance. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know what resonated with you the most in the comments below. And if you're hungry for more thought-provoking discussions, be sure to subscribe to Black Screen Bright Ideas for more enlightening content. Good dreams.